Have you ever been camping before? If you have, then you know the feeling of isolation you get when being out in the wilderness, where no one would be able to hear your cries for help if something were to go wrong. People have fallen victim to more than just the elements, and there's cases in which deranged killers have targeted campers. This was the scenario that 4 Finnish teenagers found themselves in 1960 when they became the victims of a brutal murder that went on to become one of Finland's most talked about crimes due to the mysterious circumstances surrounding the case. So who really was responsible for the attack on Lake Bodom? On Saturday, June 4th, 1960, 4 Finnish teenagers were camping on the shore of Lake Bodom in Finland near the town of Espoo, which is located approximately 14 miles from Helsinki. They were 2 15-year-old girls, Ermali Björklund and Anja Maki, along with their 18-year-old boyfriends Seppo Boisman and Nils Gustafsson. They were all from the town of Vantaa. The day went by uneventfully as the teens drank alcohol and enjoyed their time in the wilderness. Eventually, they set up a small tent and went to sleep at around midnight. Sometime in between the hours of 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. the next day, there was a rustling outside of their tent as a stranger approached. During this time of the year in Finland, the nights are very short, so by 4 a.m. it was already light out. The teenagers were still asleep when the stranger began to attack them with a knife and a blunt object. The assailant didn't even bother entering the tent. Instead, he attacked them through the sides and the roof of the canvas. 3 of the teenagers were bludgeoned and stabbed to death. The only survivor was 18-year-old Nils Gustafsson, who sustained a concussion and a fractured jaw. Him and his girlfriend Ermali were found lying on top of the tent, together. Gustafsson claimed he didn't recall much of the attack, but did describe having a vision of a man in a black cloak with bright red eyes standing over him. It's hard to know whether there's any truth to this, considering Gustafsson had just incurred severe head trauma. At around 6 a.m., a group of small boys who were out bird watching noticed the tent and claimed to see a blond man walking away from the scene. The bodies themselves were discovered at 11 a.m. by a jogger named Risto Siren. When the police investigated soon after, they were unable to find any murder weapon, but did find clothes that belonged to the teenagers and a pair of shoes that belonged to Gustafsson half a mile away from the campsite. Gustafsson was able to give a description of the murderer while under hypnosis. In a photo from the funerals, there's an image of a man that closely resembles the sketch from Gustafsson's description, but he's never been identified. Although many suspects have been investigated in connection to the case, 3 of them stand out above the rest. The first is a man named Valdemar Gillström, who was a kiosk keeper from Espoo. He was notorious for his hatred of campers, often behaving violently toward them. A few days after the murders, he filled the well in his courtyard. Shortly after that, the police investigated but found nothing incriminating. He apparently confessed to the murders to his wife, and even his relatives believe that the murder weapons are hidden inside of the filled-in well. His wife provided an alibi for the night of the murders, but on her deathbed recanted and said that he had threatened to kill her if she told anyone the truth. Gillström drowned himself in Lake Bodom in 1969. The police never believed his guilt. The second suspect is Hans Assmann, an alleged KGB spy. On the day after the murders, he showed up at the Helsinki Surgical Hospital. His clothes were covered in red stains and his fingernails were black. He looked like he was in rough shape and appeared extremely nervous. His clothes matched the description of the suspect, and his appearance is similar to the sketch. At the time, he lived only 4 miles from Lake Bodom. Although the hospital staff alerted the police of their suspicions, police only questioned Hans briefly, and they didn't even take a sample of his stained clothes. The last suspect is Nils Gustafsson himself. In March of 2004, he was arrested by the police on suspicion that he was the murderer. Prosecutors claimed that Gustafsson killed his girlfriend and friends in a fit of jealousy. It's worth noting that his girlfriend sustained the worst injuries, while he sustained the mildest. The prosecutors also argue that he hit himself with a blunt object to give himself a concussion, and the rest of his injuries could be attributed to the other teens fighting back. He was sentenced to life in prison, but the sentence only lasted a year before he was acquitted. It's likely we'll never know the identity of the killer, but if I had to guess, the most likely culprit is Hans Assmann. There's just too many incriminating details to look past, and his resemblance to the sketch can't be ignored. It's also worth noting that he has also been a suspect in other killings, including a double murder in eastern Finland. It could very well be that the teenagers fell victim to a serial killer. If you like this video, please subscribe to Crypticc for more.